And happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm pre-recording this Who Would Win for Wednesday just because scheduling. Paul's probably going to pre-record Thursdays before I go to bed, so I'll have these ready and able to put up before I have to go out and do the things I got to do. But anyway, Wednesday, and we are doing another Sternritter fight. Now, again, always got to preface it this anytime I do one of these videos. The Sternritters are from the manga Bleach / anime, but they would never showed up in the anime, not yet. In the manga, they are humans with the capability of using spiritual energy, absorbing it from the surroundings, and using it to their effect. In the final arc of Bleach, there was a group of Quincy's known as the Sternritters, who were the main villains of the final arc, all of whom had powers corresponding to a letter of the alphabet. The leader had a letter A, and basically A to Z. Now, we started with Z because I wanted to save the leader for last, because that's going to be something wacky. But we've been going from Z, and we've gone all the way up, and we are now at C. We are now 2 layers away from ending the Sternritter fights. And Sternritter C is Pernida. Oh God, I've actually never read his last name before. Pernida Parnkgjas. Is there an actual pronunciation of this? I've got the wiki up for his abilities. Is there actual pronunciation of that name? Pernida is the easy one. Parnkgjas. Well, because a lot of them go with German-sounding names. Let's see, Pernida. Let me try the Japanese, the Japanese translated version. Parnkgjas. Parnkgjas. Sure, why not? We're just gonna call him Pernida. And he is Sternritter C, the Compulsory. Now, Pernida is a very rare example in the Quincy line. Also, personality-wise, he's a bit on the arrogant side. Always identifies himself as a Quincy, things along those lines. Him and Gerard, Sternritter M, were the only 2 Quincy's who already had their powers when Uwak, the leader, found them. Uwak's the one who gives the powers and corresponds the letters to the Quincy. But they already had the powers, so he corresponded a letter to them. He is not just the Quincy, but he's the left arm of the Soul King. Now, what does that mean? Well, the Soul King is essentially a spiritual linchpin to basically the entire universes of Bleach. And if he were to be destroyed, the entire thing would go haywire and possibly cave in on itself or collapse or implode or whatever. He's the left arm of that. And his being the left arm of the Soul King, and I want to make sure that they don't actually list that. No, he governs evolution. His ability comes from evolution governance, as it's called. I'm going to read this verbatim now. Pernida governs progress and advancements through evolution, the enhancement of oneself and others via accelerated evolution, which is displayed with the various adaptations it employs in order to survive combat situations, including organic evolution, where Pernida can evolve by absorbing and consuming organic biomass, gaining abilities, traits, and attributes from other beings the biomass is from. Adaptive replication. Pernida can evolve by absorbing information from objects it touches with its nerves. Words. Anatomy manipulation. Pernida has complete control over its anatomy, which it can freely alter and manipulate. It can grow additional appendages, remove sections, or otherwise manipulate its body parts. Self-replication. Should one of its fingers be removed from the body, Pernida can create a clone of itself from that finger. This involves a finger sprouting additional fingers and eyes before growing into a full hand and arm, which distinguishes the Pernida itself from the fact that it only has one pupil in its eye and no Haggle ruin on its wrist. These copies can also use the Compulsory ability. These clones can reform from extreme damage, such as having their bodies torn to shreds. It can remain sentient and use their powers even in the state of severe dismemberment. This is achieved by having one or more eyes and fingers appear in dismembered body parts. It should be noted, by the way, that yes, Pernida is pretty much nothing more than a giant hand with a face in the palm, or 2 eyes in the palm, or an eye with 2 pupils. Chains connecting the fingers. That is pretty much what Pernida is. I have no idea if he has feet or not. That's never been shown if he had feet or not. He also has regeneration. He can regenerate his parts and any fingers it loses, intentionally or intentionally otherwise, reconstruction. Should its body be destroyed, he can completely reform and reconstruct itself in a short period of time. And then you have his actual Sternritter ability. Now he's also got Hearing Kaiku super speed, Hygun Bolgan, his spirit bows, which he can fire multiples from each of the tips of his fingers. But then the compulsory. By shooting its nerves from its fingers and extending to its opponent's body, Pernida can forcibly control their movements. Using this power, it instantly crushed the body of one of the Soul King's giant soldiers. It condensed the corpse of Senjumaru Shutara, its body double, into a compact ball. When using its power, the shape of Pernida's head distorts temporarily, becoming larger. It can also use this power to severely warp individuals' body parts, such as the arms of Yoruichi and Kenpachi. In the latter case, it eventually reduced the arm to a puddle of blood, so it reduced Kenpachi to Rocky, a guy who's already known for being extremely tough, and into a puddle, and would have warped Kenpachi's entire body had he not ripped off his arm. If inflicting the victim's entire body, he can tear them to shreds near instantly. He can also send its nerves into inorganic objects in order to control them and their shape, which he used to create giant hands from basically the ground. In addition, if one of the fingers is severed, Pernida can use the Compulsory remotely, which involves an eye opening on the knuckle of the finger before attacking the opponent. The ability is not actually a true strip, but a power he always possessed. He can also attach it to his arrows and nerves. So, when dealing with someone and he was definitely one of the stronger, he was the reason he was like the royal guard of the Quincy. When dealing with someone like this, who do you put up against him? Well, I was trying to think on that. I'm like, and I had already done Lord Boros versus Madara last week. I'm like, Boros will kind of be interesting to do because he's got regenerative capabilities, but he doesn't really fit into that. And then excuse me. And then I thought, well, no, I have to deal with someone who has adaptive capabilities or regenerative capabilities or evolution-based capabilities. So I looked up evolution, and I found the character of Heather Cameron, known as Lifeguard in the Marvel Universe. Now, Heather Cameron was basically a lifeguard, basically she found that she had mutant powers, and basically her powers are danger detection and response. She has the ability to register danger to human life, including her own, and then situational biomorphic adaptation. According to the type of danger at the current situation, she automatically obtains the powers necessary to save those lives, be they hers or others. These powers and forms she takes are determined by the situation she is in and adapts accordingly to the situation at hand. The variety of Lifeguard's powers manifest appears to be almost limitless. Heather becomes aware of how to use the power manifest within a few seconds, and she can manage more than one power at a time. Some of her powers displayed are growing wings for flight, extra arms for carrying and super strength, turn into golden metallic skin armor, gills for breathing underwater, legs into a fish tail for better swimming, upping her strength level in normal superhuman abilities. And she's also actually part Shi'ar, which is an alien race. Shi'ar's some of her powers constantly from her royal Shi'ar half emerges. They include golden skin, claws, and ability to grow wings, all when no one is in danger. So she's pretty much got power of kind of like a Colossus meets Angel a little bit when you combine them together. So yeah, now you'd think immediately it's like, well, she's gonna adapt immediately to anything Pernida throws at her. No, let's paint the picture here. Let's say again, going with the whole this Sternritter involving invading the Marvel universe. Pernida is just in town wreaking havoc, and then she comes in, saves someone, and yeah, she blocks the nerves, say, to protect someone with like a metal skin, and she gets out of the way. She gets out of the way. So Pernida uses his abilities of the Compulsory, and then starts in giant hand of rock. She cracks through it with her arm, with her body. And, super strength combined with metal skin, it's like, boom! It's like, yeah, that's the best you got. And Pernida doesn't actually talk a lot until he actually gained more intelligence from absorbing the intelligence of other individuals like Kenpachi, like Mayuri. When he gained Mayuri's intelligence, that's when it gets a little scary. But she goes in. What she doesn't necessarily identify right away is the nerves, and what her body probably doesn't identify. She identified the threat of the giant hand, not the nerves that were attached to the giant hand, which immediately go into her arm. Now, her body would immediately adapt. Her body would quickly adapt to the nerve. Now, granted, Pernida would already have control. Start mutilating her arm, maybe breaking like she, but quickly her arm kind of sets and takes care of itself. So she counteracts the nerves, and Pernida throws the nerves back at her again. And this time the nerves don't do anything. Now she comes in and starts trying to beat on Pernida. However, Pernida is faster than her. He's just faster than her, and the only way to adapt to that speed would be for her body to adapt to her own speed, or with her own speed. However, Pernida's not doing anything that puts her in a scenario where she needs to become faster. At least not at this time. Now, if he's like swinging and she's just not fast enough, she'll quickly grow faster. But that's not the case. That's not how Pernida fights. Anyway, sorry. So then Pernida just so now she's on the defensive for the compulsory, but eventually the compulsory doesn't work, and she punches him and then rips it off and finds these just giant hands. She's like, "What the hell?" It's like, "What the hell are you? What the hell are you?" And then she comes in again. This time she flies in, slices him. He regenerates. Now she comes in and slices again, but this time she can't cut through him. It's like she sees the same metallic skin that's on her. It's like, what the hell? Pernida. It's like, Pernida always, Quincy. Pernida grows stronger. You make Pernida stronger. However he sounds. And then Pernida just all of a sudden she can't cut through him. She's point blank near him, and he goes, fires freaking energy, the Quincy bows at her. And yeah, that's when she gets out of the way. She gets maybe a shot in the arm, just and she's like, ah. But again, she develops a healing factor to adapt to that. These aren't permanent for her either, I don't believe. So so now she backs off, and now Pernida's just standing there, just, you think Pernida? You think you can? He can talk on the same level as she can. She comes in again. She's not faster. She catches him. She catches one of the fingers. Cuts one of the fingers off. However, the finger basically just grows back now, and then another Pernida grows out of the finger, and now they're attacking her with a bunch of with nerves and the rocks and manipulating the environment. And now it's getting really difficult because Pernida is able to get his nerves in her just once. He is able to mimic her. He's copied her abilities thanks to his abilities. So now he has the ability of adaptive evolution, just like she does. Only difference is he's already had evolution governance. Now he can just adapt immediately to danger near him as well. So basically, this quickly becomes a war of attrition. She'll adapt to whatever Pernida throws at her, and Pernida is now going to adapt to whatever he throws at her. So the question quickly becomes, who is going to be the one that ultimately wins the fight in a war of attrition? Well, the thing is that Pernida is going to have a slight advantage on her, in the fact that he already had abilities of evolution and honestly, evolution that surpassed hers in some ways, including the ability to just regenerate and just self-replicate, as well as the ability to absorb her. Basically, theoretically speaking, if he could, with combination of his already existing abilities and her abilities, adapt to her adaptation abilities, find a way to nullify them in some way. Whereas her powers are more for protecting individuals and herself than they are for just like Darwin's abilities are to adapt to survive basically any scenario and create an energy shield or something like that. So he's Darwin's don't always work to his favor. So I lean towards Pernida because I feel like Pernida, because Pernida can also attach his nerve to his Heiglin bone. Name. What's the name of that damn bow and arrow again? Heiglin fell. The reishi arrows. He can attach his nerves to that, which make for a combined attack that she wouldn't immediately be adapted to deal with, and then he could possibly hit her in the head or just hit her in the heart, and then just take her, do something to manipulate her even more, and you basically win the fight. I think Pernida would win it, but let me put it this way: this is probably one of the closest fights and matches I probably have done because of the nature of the characters. Because of the nature of the characters, they are um they are very difficult to take out and very difficult to um they are very difficult to take out, and they are very difficult to counter in some ways in terms of how to kill them. But because he already had the evolutionary abilities beforehand, um, I think adding on her abilities, having her abilities added on, that would give him the overall edge in the fight just a bit. And with that, I think I'm going to go 55 to 45 and just barely in favor of Pernida. But that's, again, barely in favor. But let me know if you think different. If you do, that's cool. Put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, superhero, magic, what if, anything I do on the channel, put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. I'll be back tomorrow with well, technically, I'll be back Thursday. I'm doing this on Tuesday. Um, um, anyway. Technically, I'm doing this for Wednesday. This is Wednesday's Who Would Win. So, I'll be back on Thursday tomorrow. But technically, I'm doing this Tuesday. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.